10 years ago, a black mechanic pulled a white college student from a burning house and vanished into the night, leaving behind only a tarnished silver bird and a debt she could never repay. Now, Claire Whitmore has finally found the man who saved her life, but Marcus Cole wants nothing to do with her gratitude, her money, or her world. What she doesn't know is that the night he rescued her, he made a choice that still haunts him. A choice shaped by fear, pride, and the brutal reality of being a black man at the wrong place at the wrong time. As Claire fights to prove her love is real and not just guilt dressed up as devotion, Marcus must decide, can he trust a woman from a world that's never trusted him? Or will the ghosts of that fire and the whispers of a town that won't let them forget destroy the fragile bridge they're building? One silver bird, two broken people, and a love that will either heal them both or burn them to the ground. If you're watching this, subscribe and tell me where you're watching from, because this story is just getting started. The smoke came first as a whisper. Claire Whitmore woke to the smell, sharp, wrong, like burning plastic mixed with something sweeter. She blinked in the darkness of her tiny bedroom, her 18-year-old mind still foggy with sleep. The digital clock on her nightstand glowed 2:47 a.m. She sat up. The whisper had become a hiss. Gray tendrils curled under her bedroom door, thin and reaching. Her heart kicked hard against her ribs. She threw off the blanket and stumbled to the door, pressing her palm against it. Hot. Too hot. No! No, no! Her voice cracked. She yanked her hand back and spun toward the window. The old rental house had windows that stuck. Windows that hadn't been opened since she'd moved in 3 months ago for her first year at the community college. She grabbed the frame and pulled. Nothing. She pulled again, harder, panic rising in her throat like bile. The paint had sealed it shut. Behind her, the smoke thickened, pouring under the door now in rolling waves. The heat pressed against her back. She coughed. Once, twice. Her lungs burned. Help! She screamed it, pounding on the window. Somebody help me! The glass was old, single pane, but it wouldn't break. She looked around wildly for something heavy. A lamp. She grabbed the ceramic base from her nightstand and swung it at the window. The lamp bounced off. Tears streamed down her face now, from smoke and terror both. She could hear it, the fire, crackling somewhere beyond her door. Hungry. Growing. She swung again. The window cracked. Help! Please! Her voice was weaker now. The smoke filled her lungs, made everything hazy. She sank to her knees, still clutching the lamp, her strength draining away like water through a sieve. This is it, she thought. This is how it ends. Then the window exploded inward. Glass rained down around her. A gloved hand reached through, batting away the jagged edges still clinging to the frame. Then a voice, deep, steady, urgent. Cover your face. Now. She looked up. A man's silhouette filled the window frame, backlit by the streetlight outside. She couldn't see his face, just his shape, broad shoulders, strong arms. He wore a dark jacket and moved with purpose. I can't, she coughed, choking on the words. He didn't wait. He climbed through the window, boots crunching on broken glass, and pulled off his jacket. He wrapped it around her shoulders, tugging it up over her nose and mouth. Breathe through this. Stay low. His voice was calm. It cut through her panic like a hand reaching into dark water. He scooped her up, one arm under her knees, one behind her back, and she felt his strength as if it were the only solid thing left in the world. He turned toward the window. Close your eyes. She did. He carried her through the window frame, moving carefully over the sill, his body shielding hers from the remaining shards. Cool night air hit her face, she gasped, dragging in oxygen that didn't burn. He set her down on the patchy grass of the front yard, 20 feet from the house. Flames licked out of the living room window now, orange and furious. She could hear sirens in the distance, growing louder. "Stay here," he said. She grabbed his arm. "Wait!" He knelt beside her, and for the first time, she saw his face in the wash of streetlight and fire glow. Dark skin, a strong jaw, eyes that held something old and careful. A faint scar curved along his left temple. He was young, maybe mid-20s, but he carried himself like someone who'd already lived a long life. "You're okay," he said. "You're safe." Her hand still gripped his arm. He glanced down at it, then back at her face. He reached into his pocket and pulled something out, a small, tarnished charm on a thin chain. It was shaped like a bird, wings spread, the silver dull and dark with age. He pressed it into her palm and closed her fingers around it. "Hold on to this," he said. "Keep squeezing it. It'll keep you awake." "Why?" "Smoke does things to your head. You need to stay awake until the medics get here." His voice was firm, but not unkind. "Squeeze it. Feel it. Stay with me." She squeezed. The metal bit into her palm, solid and real. "What's your name?" she whispered. He hesitated. "Doesn't matter." "It matters to me." The sirens were close now, maybe 2 blocks away. He glanced over his shoulder, then back at her. "You're going to be fine," he said. "I promise." "Please," she said. "Let me thank you. Let me—" He stood. "No thanks needed." "Wait." But he was already stepping back, moving toward the shadows between the houses. She tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't hold her. She clutched the bird charm and watched him disappear into the dark, just as the first fire truck screamed around the corner, lights flashing red and white. 2 paramedics reached her seconds later. They wrapped a blanket around her shoulders, shone a light in her eyes, pressed an oxygen mask to her face. "Miss, are you hurt? Can you tell us your name?" She answered, but her eyes stayed on the shadows where he'd vanished. One of the medics lifted her onto a gurney. As they rolled her toward the ambulance, she turned her head, searching the crowd of neighbors gathering on the sidewalk in their robes and pajamas. He wasn't there. The ambulance doors closed with a soft, final thump. Claire lay back, the oxygen mask cool against her cheeks, and opened her hand. The bird charm gleamed dully in the overhead light. "I'll find you," she whispered. The sirens wailed, and the ambulance pulled away. 10 years later. Claire Whitmore signed her name on the last document and set down the pen. The lawyer across the desk, a thin man with wire-rimmed glasses and a kind smile, slid the papers into a folder and nodded. "That's everything," he said. "The house is yours, along with the fund your aunt left. It's not a fortune, but it's enough to live on for a while if you're careful." "I will be," Claire said. She was 28 now. Her blonde hair was shorter than it had been at 18, cut to her shoulders and tucked behind her ears. She wore a simple gray sweater and jeans. No jewelry except for a thin, silver chain around her neck. Hanging from the chain was a tarnished bird charm. She touched it now. A habit, her fingers finding the familiar shape. She'd worn it every day for 10 years. She'd cleaned it, tried to polish it, but the tarnish never fully left. It didn't matter. She liked it the way it was. Proof that the night had been real. "Will you be moving into the property?" the lawyer asked. "Not right away," Claire said. "I'm going back to Riverside first, to take care of some things." The lawyer nodded, but he didn't ask what things. It wasn't his business. Claire stood, shook his hand, and walked out of the office into the bright morning. She sat in her car in the parking lot for a long moment, staring at the folder of papers on the passenger seat. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. "Darling, are you finished? Call me when you can. We need to discuss the house repairs. And Daniel wants to know if you'll be back for the fundraiser next week." Claire closed her eyes. Daniel, her on-again, off-again boyfriend of 2 years. Polished, charming, always talking about branding and optics and opportunities. He worked in marketing for a tech firm and treated life like a campaign. She'd been off again with him for 3 months now, but he still texted, still called, still acted like they were a team. She set the phone face down on the seat and didn't answer. Instead, she opened the glove box and pulled out a worn manila folder. Inside were printouts, old news articles about the fire, archived county records, a list of tow companies and auto shops she'd called over the years. Dead ends, all of them. She'd searched. God, she'd searched. But the man who'd saved her had left no trace. No name in the fire report. No witness who'd seen him clearly. No record of a good Samaritan coming forward. He'd vanished like smoke, but she'd never stopped looking. She closed the folder and started the engine. Riverside was a 4-hour drive. She'd bought a used sedan under her maiden name, Whitmore, not Pierce, to keep things quiet. Her mother's social circle didn't need to know where she was going or why. The highway unrolled in front of her, flat and familiar. She passed fields of corn stubble and clusters of small towns, each one a blur of grain silos and gas stations. By early afternoon, she crossed the river and saw the sign. "Welcome to Riverside. Population 8,200. Her chest tightened. She hadn't been back since the fire. After the ambulance had taken her to the hospital that night, her mother had driven up from Indianapolis and moved her out of the rental house, or what was left of it, within a week. Claire had finished her semester online and transferred to a school closer to home. She'd never said goodbye to the town. Now, she drove slowly through the main street. It looked the same, small shops with painted signs, a diner with a red awning, a hardware store, a church with a white steeple. People walked the sidewalks, carrying grocery bags and pushing strollers. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, which meant finding him should have been easy, but it hadn't been. Claire turned down Maple Street and slowed. The empty lot where her rental house had stood came into view. The house had been torn down years ago. Now it was just overgrown grass and a chain-link fence. She parked and got out. The air smelled like cut grass and distant rain. She walked to the fence and wrapped her fingers around the cool metal, staring at the place where her window had been. She could still see him, silhouette against the streetlight, the calm in his voice, the way he'd wrapped his jacket around her like a shield. She closed her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "Wherever you are, thank you." A gust of wind rattled the fence. Behind her, a car engine sputtered and died. She turned. Her sedan sat silent in the street, hood ticking in the heat. "No," she muttered. "Not now." She tried the ignition. Nothing, not even a click. She sat back and laughed, short, tired, unbelieving. Then she pulled out her phone and searched for tow trucks in Riverside. The first result was Cole Auto and Towing. Her thumb hovered over the call button. Then she pressed it. 20 minutes later, a flatbed tow truck pulled up behind her car. The driver hopped out. A broad-shouldered man in a faded blue work shirt and jeans, a baseball cap pulled low. "You called for a tow?" he asked. "Yeah," Claire said. "It just died. I don't know what happened." "Let's take a look." He popped the hood and leaned over the engine, hands moving with easy confidence. She stood to the side, watching. "Battery cable's frayed," he said after a moment. "Probably been loose for a while. You're lucky it didn't leave you, stranded somewhere worse." "Can you fix it?" "Not here. I'll tow you back to the shop, run a diagnostic, and get you sorted." He straightened and pulled a rag from his pocket, wiping his hands. "Shouldn't take long." "Thank you." He nodded and moved to hook up the car. Claire watched him work. There was something steady about him, something calm. He didn't rush, didn't talk, just to fill the air. When the car was secure, he gestured to the truck cab. "Hop in, I'll get you there." She climbed into the passenger seat. The cab smelled like coffee and motor oil. A child's drawing was taped to the dashboard. A house, a tree, a smiling stick figure. The driver got in and started the engine. "I'm Marcus," he said. "Cole Auto's my shop." "Claire," she said. "Nice to meet you." He glanced at her as he pulled onto the road. "You visiting Riverside or passing through?" "Bit of both." He didn't press. She liked that. They drove in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Then Marcus turned onto a side street and pulled into a gravel lot. A small building sat at the back. White cinder block, a hand-painted sign that read, "Cole Auto," in neat black letters. Two garage bays stood open, and a blue sedan sat on a lift inside one of them. Marcus parked and got out. Claire followed. The shop was tidy. Tools hung on pegboards. A small waiting area held 3 plastic chairs and a coffee maker. In the corner, a little girl sat at a low table, coloring in a book. She looked up when they walked in. "Hi, Dad," she said. "Hey, baby. This is Miss Claire. Her car broke down." The girl studied Claire with serious brown eyes. She was maybe 8 years old, with thick curls pulled into 2 puffs and a purple t-shirt that said, "Be kind," in sparkly letters. "Hi," Claire said, smiling. The girl gave a small wave and went back to her coloring. Marcus pulled a clipboard from the counter. "Give me about 20 minutes to get your car off the truck and take a look. Coffee's fresh if you want some." "Thank you." He walked out to the flatbed, and Claire poured herself a cup of coffee. It was strong and hot. She sat in one of the plastic chairs and watched through the window as Marcus unhooked her car with practiced ease. She sipped her coffee and glanced at the little girl. "What are you drawing?" Claire asked. The girl held up the page. It was a bird, wings spread wide, colored in silver crayon. Claire's breath caught. "That's beautiful," she managed. "Thank you," the girl said shyly. "My dad likes birds." Claire's fingers drifted to the charm at her neck. She pulled it out, letting it rest on top of her sweater. The girl's eyes widened. "You have one too." Claire's heart hammered. "Yeah, I've had it a long time." The girl smiled and went back to her drawing. Claire sat very still, her pulse loud in her ears. Through the window, she watched Marcus roll her car into the bay. He moved with the same steady confidence she'd seen before. No wasted motion, no hesitation. And then, as he reached for a set of keys on the workbench, his sleeve rode up. Claire saw it, a scar on his wrist. Faint, pale against his dark skin, shaped like a burn. The coffee cup trembled in her hand. She set it down carefully and stood. Marcus came back inside, wiping his hands on a rag. "Battery cable, like I thought. I can fix it today. Have you back on the road in an hour or so? Fair price." Claire stared at him. He frowned. "You okay?" "Where?" Her voice came out hoarse. She cleared her throat. "Where did you get that scar?" His hand stilled. He glanced down at his wrist, then back at her. His expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes, something guarded. "Old accident," he said quietly. "What kind of accident?" He studied her for a long moment. Then his gaze dropped to the bird charm hanging from her neck. His jaw tightened. "Where did you get that?" he asked. The air between them went still. Claire reached up and unclasped the chain. She held it out, the bird resting in her palm. A man gave it to me, she said. 10 years ago, he pulled me out of a burning house. Marcus didn't move. He told me to hold on to it, to stay awake. Her voice shook. Then he disappeared before I could thank him. The silence stretched. Marcus's daughter looked up from her coloring, sensing the shift in the room. Finally, Marcus took the charm from Claire's hand. He turned it over slowly, his thumb tracing the bird's wings. "It was you," Claire whispered. He closed his hand around the charm. When he looked at her, his face was carefully blank. "Yeah," he said. "It was me." Claire's knees went weak. She grabbed the back of the plastic chair to steady herself. "I looked for you," she said. "For years. I called every shop, I know." She blinked. "You know?" Marcus set the charm down on the counter between them, his movements deliberate. "Small town. Word gets around when someone's asking questions." He paused. "I heard you were looking. I didn't answer." The words hit her like cold water. "Why?" He glanced at his daughter, who was watching them now with wide, curious eyes. "Ava, baby, can you go play in the office for a bit? There's coloring books in the drawer." Ava nodded and gathered her crayons. She walked past them into a small room off to the side and closed the door halfway. Marcus waited until he heard the sound of a drawer opening. Then he turned back to Claire. "Because I didn't want thanks," he said simply. "I didn't want money or attention or whatever else people think they owe someone for doing the right thing." "I wasn't trying to pay you," Claire said, her voice rising. "I just wanted to say thank you, to tell you what it meant." "I know what it meant." His tone was firm, but not harsh. "And I'm glad you're okay. But there's no debt between us. There never was." Claire stared at him. Her chest felt tight, her eyes hot with tears she refused to let fall. "You saved my life, and you don't owe me anything for that." He picked up the charm again and held it out to her. "This is yours. You should keep it." She looked at the tarnished bird resting in his palm. Then she looked at his face, at the careful walls he'd built, the quiet strength that held them in place. She understood something then. This wasn't about pride. It was about protection, his own. She took the charm and clasped it back around her neck. "Can I at least buy you dinner?" she asked quietly. "Not as payment, just to say what I couldn't say 10 years ago." Marcus shook his head. "I appreciate it, but I've got Ava's routine. She eats at 6, homework after, bed by 8:30. I don't mess with that." Claire nodded slowly. "Okay." He watched her for a moment, something like regret flickering across his face. Then he picked up the clipboard again. "Let me get your car fixed," he said. "You can wait here or come back in an hour." "I'll wait." He nodded and walked back out to the bay. Claire sank into the plastic chair and pressed her palms against her eyes. She'd found him. After 10 years, she'd finally found him. And he didn't want anything from her. Not thanks, not money, not even a conversation. She lowered her hands and stared at the bird charm. The metal was warm from her skin. Behind the half-closed office door, Ava hummed softly while she colored. Claire closed her eyes and tried to steady her breathing. Through the bay window, she could see Marcus working under the hood of her car. His movements were sure, practiced. He didn't look up. The minutes ticked by. An hour later, Marcus came back inside, wiping grease from his hands with a red rag. "You're all set," he said. "New cable, connections cleaned. Should run fine now. How much do I owe you?" He named a price that seemed too low. Claire pulled out her wallet, but he waved her off. "Round it down," he said. "Consider it a welcome back to Riverside discount." She handed him the bills anyway, the full amount plus a little extra. He looked at the money, then at her. I don't take tips for doing my job. It's not a tip, it's the fair price. They stared at each other. Finally, Marcus took the money and put it in the register. Keys are in the ignition. Thank you. She walked toward the door, then stopped. Her hand rested on the doorframe. I'm staying in town for a while, she said without turning around. At my aunt's old house on Birch Street. If you ever change your mind about that dinner? She didn't finish the sentence. Marcus didn't answer. Claire walked out into the afternoon sun. The bell above the door chimed softly behind her. That night, Claire sat in her aunt's house, a small, one-story bungalow with faded yellow siding and a porch that creaked when you walked on it. The furniture was old, but clean, the kind of simple, sturdy pieces that lasted decades. She made herself a sandwich and ate it standing at the kitchen counter. Her phone buzzed. Another text from her mother. Claire, you haven't answered? Are you all right? Daniel is asking about you. He wants to help with the house. Claire typed a reply. I'm fine, Mom. Just need some time to settle in. I'll call you soon. She didn't mention Marcus. She didn't mention the fire or the 10-year search or the way her heart had cracked open when he'd said, I didn't want thanks. Her mother wouldn't understand. Her mother measured everything in appearances and outcomes. Love was strategic. Kindness was networking. Gratitude was currency. Claire had lived that way for a long time, playing the part, smiling at fundraisers, laughing at Daniel's polished jokes, pretending her life had the shape her mother wanted. But sitting in this quiet house, holding a half-eaten sandwich and wearing a tarnished bird charm, she felt something shift. She didn't want strategy anymore. She wanted truth. The next morning, Claire woke early. She showered, dressed in jeans and a soft blue sweater, and drove to the bakery on Main Street. She bought a box of muffins, blueberry, banana nut, chocolate chip, and a plain thank you card from the drugstore next door. She sat in her car and wrote carefully. Thank you for fixing my car yesterday, and for everything else 10 years ago. I know you don't want payment or fanfare. I'm not offering either, just gratitude. Claire. She tucked the card into the box and drove to Cole Auto. The shop was just opening. Marcus was raising the bay doors when she pulled into the lot. He saw her and stopped. Claire got out, holding the box. Morning? She said. Morning. His voice was cautious. She held out the muffins. For you and your crew, and Ava, if she's here. He looked at the box but didn't take it. You didn't have to do that. I know, I wanted to. A beat passed. Then he took the box. Thank you, he said. You're welcome. She turned to leave. Claire. She stopped and looked back. Marcus set the box on the workbench and crossed his arms. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept much. You asked yesterday what would help, he said. If you really want to do something, here's what I need. She waited. Predictable kindness, he said. Not big gestures, not money or gifts or whatever. Just show up when you say you will. Do what you say you'll do. That's it. Claire nodded slowly. I can do that. My sister Nina works nights sometimes at the hospital. When she does, I'm on my own with Ava. School drop-offs, pickups, all of it. If I ever need a ride for her and I ask, and you say yes, then I need you to actually show up. Not because you owe me, just because you said you would. I understand. He studied her. I'm not trying to test you. I'm trying to protect my kid. I know. Claire's voice was steady. And I respect that. If you ever need help, you can call me. I'll be there. Marcus nodded once. Okay. She walked back to her car. As she opened the door, she glanced back. Marcus was watching her. When their eyes met, he lifted one hand, half a wave, half an acknowledgement. She smiled. Then she drove away. 2 days later, her phone rang. She didn't recognize the number, but it was local. Hello? Claire, it's Marcus. Her pulse jumped. Hi? Nina got called in early tonight. I've got Ava's gym practice at 4, but I'm stuck under a car, and I won't be able to make it in time. Can you drive her? Claire grabbed her keys. Absolutely. Where do I pick her up? School parking lot. I'll call the office and let them know you're coming. Ava's expecting you. I'll be there. Thank you. He hung up. Claire was out the door in 2 minutes. Ava was waiting on the curb when Claire pulled up, her backpack slung over one shoulder and a gym bag in her other hand. She looked small standing there, her curls bouncing in the breeze. Claire rolled down the window. Hi, Ava. Your dad sent me. Ava smiled shyly and climbed into the back seat. Hi, Miss Claire. You can call me Claire if you want. Okay. They drove toward the community center on the north side of town. Ava was quiet at first, looking out the window. Then she said, You found my dad. Claire glanced in the rearview mirror. What do you mean? You were looking for him, and you found him. Claire's throat tightened. Yeah, I did. He told me he helped you a long time ago. He did. He saved my life. Ava nodded solemnly. He's good at helping people. I can see that. They pulled into the parking lot. The gym was a low brick building with a blue metal roof. Kids in athletic clothes streamed through the front doors. Claire parked, and Ava unbuckled her seatbelt. Do you want to come in? Ava asked. I don't want to intrude. You're not intruding. You drove me. Claire smiled. Okay, just for a minute. Inside, the gym smelled like floor wax and rubber sneakers. A coach blew a whistle, and kids scattered into groups for warm-ups. Claire bought 2 bottles of water from a vending machine, one for Ava, one for herself. She handed Ava hers. Thank you, Ava said. She looked up at Claire with serious eyes. Are you going to stay in Riverside? For a while, maybe longer, I'm not sure yet. I hope you stay. The simplicity of it, the honesty, made Claire's chest ache. Me too, Claire said softly. Ava grinned and ran off to join her team. Claire stood at the edge of the gym, sipping her water and watching the kids run drills. She felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. She felt useful. When practice ended, Claire drove Ava back to the shop. Marcus was waiting in the lot, leaning against his truck. He straightened when they pulled in. Ava jumped out. Dad, Claire bought me water and I made 3 baskets. Marcus smiled, a real smile, the kind that reached his eyes. That's my girl. He looked at Claire through the open window. Thank you. Anytime? You want to stay for a bit? I was about to close up and grab some dinner at the diner down the street. Just pie and coffee. Nothing fancy. Claire's heart lifted. I'd like that. Actually, Marcus rubbed the back of his neck. Rain check. I forgot Ava's got a test tomorrow. We need to study. Claire tried not to let her disappointment show. Of course. Another time. Yeah, another time. She drove home and told herself it was enough. He'd asked. That was something. 3 days later, Claire saw Marcus at the fall fair. The fairgrounds sat on the edge of town, a sprawling field dotted with carnival rides, food trucks, and craft booths. Kids ran shrieking between the game stalls. The air smelled like fried dough and caramel apples. Claire was standing in line for a corn dog when she heard a familiar voice. Miss Claire! She turned. Ava was waving from the ring toss booth, Marcus beside her. Claire waved back and walked over. Hi, she said. Hi. Marcus's smile was easier now, less guarded. You here alone? Yeah, just wandering. Want to wander with us? She felt warmth spread through her chest. I'd love to. They spent the next hour moving through the fair together. Ava won a stuffed bear at the dart game. Marcus bought them all corn dogs and lemonade. They sat on a bench near the Ferris wheel and ate, watching the sun dip low on the horizon. Ava wiped mustard from her chin and looked at Claire. "Do you like birds?" "I do," Claire said. "Why?" "Because of your necklace." Ava pointed at the charm. Claire pulled it out so Ava could see it better. The silver caught the fading light. "My dad gave you that, right?" Ava asked. "He did." "Do you know why?" Claire glanced at Marcus. He was watching them, his expression unreadable. "He wanted me to stay awake," Claire said. "So, I'd be okay." Ava reached out and touched the bird gently. "It's pretty, even if it's old." "I think it's perfect the way it is," Claire said. Marcus's gaze softened. A woman walked by with a camera, snapping photos of families at the fair. She paused and lifted the lens toward them. "Smile," she called. Claire barely had time to react before the flash went off. The woman waved and kept walking. Ava giggled. "We're famous now?" Marcus shook his head, but he was smiling. As the sky turned purple, they walked back toward the parking lot. Ava skipped ahead, swinging her stuffed bear. "Thank you for today," Marcus said quietly. "Thank you for letting me stay." He stopped walking and looked at her. "I'm not good at this." "At what?" "Letting people in." He shoved his hands in his pockets. "I've got reasons. Some of them are old. Some are just the way things are. You don't have to explain." "I know, but I want to try." He glanced at Ava, then back at Claire. "If you're serious about staying in Riverside, and if you're serious about being around us, then we should talk. Really talk. Tomorrow. Riverside Park, by the river, just you and me." Claire's heart thudded. "What time?" 5, after I close the shop." "I'll be there." He nodded. "Okay." Ava ran back to them, breathless and grinning. "Dad, can Claire come to dinner sometime?" Marcus looked at Claire. "Maybe." Ava beamed. They said goodnight. In the parking lot, Claire watched them drive away, Marcus's taillights disappearing into the dark. She got into her own car and sat for a moment, her hands resting on the steering wheel. Tomorrow, she thought. Tomorrow they would talk. And maybe, just maybe, he would let her stay. The river moved slowly through Riverside, wide and brown and patient. Cottonwood trees lined the banks, their leaves turning gold in the late September light. A wooden bench sat near the water's edge, weathered gray by seasons of sun and rain. Claire arrived at 10 minutes to 5. She wore jeans and a cream-colored sweater, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. No makeup, no jewelry except the bird charm. She wanted him to see her. Not a version, just her. Marcus pulled up at 5 exactly. He got out of his truck carrying a paper bag and a blanket tucked under his arm. "Hi," he said. "Hi." He spread the blanket on the grass near the bench. "I brought sandwiches. Nothing fancy. Turkey and cheese from the deli." "That's perfect." They sat. The river whispered against the rocks. A pair of ducks paddled past, dipping their heads under the water. Marcus handed her a sandwich wrapped in white paper. "I'm not great at small talk." "That's okay. I don't need small talk." He unwrapped his own sandwich but didn't eat. He stared at the water for a long moment. "I left that fire scene because I didn't want questions," he said finally. "The kind of questions that turn into assumptions. The kind that get black men in trouble even when they're doing the right thing." Claire's chest tightened. "I never thought—" "I know you didn't. But I did." His voice was calm, factual. "I saw smoke. I saw flames. I saw your window and knew someone was inside. So I broke in and got you out. But I also knew how it would look if I stayed. A black man at a white girl's house in the middle of the night, her injured, the place burning down. I knew how that story could get told. Claire set down her sandwich. She felt sick. So I left, Marcus continued. I went home. I checked the news the next morning and saw you were okay. That was enough for me. I'm sorry, Claire whispered. He looked at her then, really looked at her. You didn't do anything wrong, neither did I. But the world we live in doesn't always care about that. I know. Do you? He wasn't being cruel. He was asking. Claire thought about her mother's world, the fundraisers and country clubs, the polite smiles and unspoken rules, the way certain people were always welcome and others had to prove themselves first. I'm learning, she said quietly. Marcus nodded. He took a bite of his sandwich, chewed, swallowed. When you started looking for me, I heard about it, but I also figured you'd give up eventually. Most people do. I didn't. No, you didn't. He brushed crumbs from his hands. That's why I'm here. You're either the most stubborn woman I've ever met, or you actually mean what you say. I mean it. Why? The question hung in the air. Claire looked at the river. Because you gave me my life back. Not just that night, every day after. Every time I woke up and breathed and laughed and felt the sun on my face, that was because of you. And I couldn't let that go unnamed. I couldn't let you disappear like you didn't matter. Marcus was quiet for a long time. I have a daughter, he said. She's the center of everything I do. Every choice I make, every wall I build, it's to protect her, to give her stability, to make sure she grows up knowing she's safe and loved and doesn't have to worry about whether her dad's going to be there when she comes home from school. I can see that. So, if you're going to be around us, I need to know you're not here because you feel guilty or because you're trying to fix something inside yourself. I need to know you see us, really see us, as people, not a story or a project. Claire met his eyes. I see you, both of you, and I'm not here to fix anything. I'm here because I want to be. Because you're the first person in 10 years who's asked me to just show up and mean it. The corners of his mouth lifted slightly. Okay? Okay? Yeah, okay. He handed her a bag of chips from the paper sack. Let's eat. Then maybe you can tell me why a woman with money and options is living in a rundown house in a town she left a decade ago. Claire smiled. That's a fair question. They ate, and as the sun dropped lower, painting the water orange and pink, Claire told him. She told him about her aunt, who'd been the only one in the family who didn't care about appearances, who'd baked bread and planted tomatoes and said what she meant without apology. She told him about inheriting the house and the small fund, about her mother's disappointment, about Daniel and his endless talk of branding and image. He wanted to turn you into a product, Marcus said. Yeah, and I let him for a while, because it was easier than figuring out what I actually wanted. And now? Claire touched the bird charm at her neck. Now I want something real. Marcus watched her. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a keychain, a small silver bird, tarnished and worn, identical to the one she wore. I kept the match, he said. Bought them at a thrift shop when I was 22. Gave one to you, kept one for myself. Reminder that sometimes the right thing costs you something, but you do it anyway. Claire's throat closed. Can I tell you something? She asked. Yeah. I've spent 10 years trying to find you, and now that I have, I don't want to lose you again. Marcus looked at her for a long, quiet moment. Then he said, I don't want to lose you either. The words were simple, but they landed like a promise. Behind them, small footsteps crunched on gravel. They turned. Ava was running toward them, Nina walking behind her with a tired smile. Dad, You didn't tell me you were having a picnic, Ava called. Marcus stood and caught her as she crashed into him. I thought you were at Nina's. I was, but I wanted to see the ducks. Ava spotted Claire and grinned. Hi, Claire. Hi, Ava. Nina reached them, brushing hair from her face. She was 30, with the same warm brown eyes as her brother and a no-nonsense air that came from years of working in a hospital. Sorry, Nina said. She begged. I couldn't say no. Marcus shook his head, but he was smiling. It's fine. Ava plopped down on the blanket between them. Can I see the bird? Claire unclasped the chain and handed it to her. Ava held it up to the fading light, turning it carefully. It's pretty, Ava said, but it's dirty. That's what makes it special, Claire said. Can we clean it? Claire glanced at Marcus. He shrugged. If you want to. I do. Ava looked at Claire with bright, hopeful eyes. Can I help? Absolutely. Tomorrow after school? Yes. Nina sat on the bench and watched them, a small smile on her face. You're Claire. I am. Marcus told me about you. Nina's tone was friendly but measured. He doesn't let people in easy. I'm learning that. Good. Nina leaned back and crossed her arms. Just so you know, if you hurt him or Ava, you'll have me to deal with. Claire nodded. Understood. Nina's smile widened. All right then, we're good. They stayed by the river as the sky deepened to purple. Ava ran along the bank, chasing fireflies. Marcus and Claire sat side by side, shoulders almost touching, watching her laugh. She likes you, Marcus said quietly. I like her too. That makes this harder. Claire looked at him. What do you mean? Means I can't just walk away if things get complicated, because she's already attached. Are things going to get complicated? Marcus turned to face her. Probably. My life's not simple. Single dad, small business, a sister who works too much, a town where everybody knows your business. And you've got a whole other world waiting for you. A mother who probably doesn't approve. A boyfriend who still thinks he's got a shot. Ex-boyfriend, Claire corrected. And I don't care what my mother thinks. Not about this. You say that now. I mean it. Marcus held her gaze. Then we'll try. Slow, careful. No promises except honesty. I can do that. Okay. He stood and offered her his hand. She took it. His palm was warm, calloused, strong. They folded the blanket together and walked back to the parking lot. Nina buckled Ava into the truck while Marcus stood with Claire by her car. Tomorrow, he said. After school, Ava wants to polish that charm. I'll be there. He nodded. Then, almost hesitantly, he reached out and brushed a strand of hair from her face. Good night, Claire. Good night, Marcus. She drove home with the windows down, the cool night air rushing past, her heart lighter than it had been in years. The next afternoon, Claire arrived at the shop with a small kit, jewelry polish, soft cloths, a bowl of warm water. Ava was waiting, bouncing on her toes. You brought it. I did. They spread everything out on the counter in the office. Marcus watched from the doorway, arms crossed, a faint smile on his face. Claire showed Ava how to dip the cloth, how to rub gently in small circles. The tarnish began to lift, revealing brighter silver underneath. It's working, Ava said. You're doing great. They worked in comfortable silence. Outside, Marcus answered a phone call and pulled a car into the bay. When the charm was as clean as it would get, still worn, still marked by time, but gleaming softly, Ava held it up. It's beautiful, she whispered. It is, Claire agreed. Can I see the back? Claire turned it over. There, faint but visible now that the tarnish was gone, was a single engraved letter. See, Ava traced it with her finger. That's your initial. Yeah. Do you think my dad knew? I don't know. Maybe. Marcus appeared in the doorway. Let me see. Ava handed it to him. He held it up to the light, his expression unreadable. I didn't notice that before, he said quietly. When I bought them, I just liked the bird. Maybe it was meant for me, Claire said. Marcus looked at her. Maybe it was. Something passed between them, unspoken, fragile, real. Ava clapped her hands. This is like a fairy tale. Marcus laughed. It's not a fairy tale, baby. It's just life. Same thing, Ava said confidently. That night, Claire's phone rang. It was her mother. Claire, darling, I haven't heard from you in days. Are you all right? I'm fine, Mom. Daniel says he hasn't been able to reach you. I told him I needed space. A pause. He's worried about you. We both are. This house project, you're isolating yourself. It's not healthy. Claire closed her eyes. I'm not isolating. I'm figuring things out. Alone in a small town? Sweetheart, you have resources. Friends. Daniel could help with contractors, with... I don't want Daniel's help. Another pause, longer this time. What's really going on? Claire looked at the bird charm on her dresser, gleaming softly in the lamplight. I found someone, Mom. Someone important. Who? The man who saved me from the fire. Silence. Claire, her mother said slowly. That was 10 years ago? I know. And you've been searching for him all this time? Yes. Why? Because he mattered. Because I needed him to know what he did for me. Her mother sighed. Darling, gratitude is lovely, but you can't build a life on it. I'm not. I'm building a life on truth. What does that even mean? It means I'm staying in Riverside. It means I'm spending time with him and his daughter. It means I'm choosing something real instead of something polished. His daughter? Her mother's voice rose. Claire, you barely know this man. I'm getting to know him. And what does he do? He owns an auto shop. A sharp intake of breath. Claire. Mom, stop. I'm just trying to understand. You're throwing away your life for a mechanic? The word landed like a slap. I'm not throwing anything away, Claire said, her voice hard. I'm finding something I didn't know I needed, and if you can't support that, then we don't have to talk about it. Claire, I have to go. I'll call you later. She hung up before her mother could respond. Her hands were shaking. She sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. Her phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. Your mom told me you're seeing someone. Is this a joke? Claire blocked his number. Then she turned off her phone and lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Outside, the wind moved through the trees. She thought about Marcus's hands, steady and sure as he'd fixed her car. She thought about Ava's smile when the charm had started to shine. She thought about the river and the fireflies and the way Marcus had looked at her when he'd said, "Okay." Her mother was wrong. Gratitude wasn't the foundation. But it was the doorway. And Claire had finally walked through. The days that followed settled into a rhythm. Claire picked up Ava twice more when Nina worked late. She learned that Ava liked grape juice boxes and hated broccoli. That she wanted to be a veterinarian when she grew up. That she hummed when she colored and always picked the purple crayon first. Marcus started texting her in the mornings, simple messages. Coffee's on if you want to stop by. Or Ava made cookies. They're edible, mostly. Claire stopped by. She drank coffee in the shop's waiting area and ate slightly burnt chocolate chip cookies and watched Marcus work. They talked in the margins, quick conversations between phone calls and car repairs. Nothing deep, just present. One afternoon, Marcus taught her how to check tire pressure. He knelt beside her car, his hands guiding hers on the gauge. You feel that? He asked. The resistance when it's full? Yeah. That's how you know it's right, not guessing. Knowing. She looked at him. He was close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes, the small scar above his eyebrow. You talk about cars the way some people talk about people, she said. He smiled. Cars are easier. They tell you what's wrong. You fix it. It works. People aren't like that? Not in my experience. He stood and offered her his hand. But I'm learning. She took his hand and let him pull her up. Inside the shop, Ava was taping her polished bird drawing to the office wall. She stepped back, admiring it. Perfect, she announced. Claire and Marcus stood in the doorway watching her. She's happy, Marcus said quietly. I haven't seen her this happy in a while. What changed? He looked at Claire. You. The weight of it settled between them. The responsibility, the hope, the fear of what could go wrong. I don't want to mess this up, Claire said. Me neither. That night, as Claire was leaving, a man in a clean button-down and khakis pulled into the lot. He parked next to her car and got out, smiling. Daniel. Claire's stomach dropped. There you are, Daniel said, brightly. Your mom gave me the address. I thought I'd drive up and see how you're settling in. Daniel, you shouldn't have come. Nonsense. I wanted to help. He glanced at the shop, then at Marcus, who'd stepped out of the bay, wiping his hands on a rag. This is where you've been spending your time? Daniel, I'm Daniel Pierce. He walked over to Marcus, hand extended. Claire's boyfriend. Ex-boyfriend, Claire said sharply. Marcus shook his hand briefly, his expression neutral. Marcus Cole. So you're the guy, Daniel said, still smiling. The mechanic. Claire's told me about you. I haven't told you anything, Claire said. Daniel ignored her. He turned back to Marcus, hands in his pockets, all charm and confidence. Listen, I work in marketing. I've helped a lot of small businesses scale up. This place has potential. Solid location, good word of mouth. You could expand, maybe add a second bay, hire another mechanic. I could connect you with some capital, help with branding. I'm not interested, Marcus said. Daniel blinked. You haven't even heard the full pitch. Don't need to. Marcus runs his business the way he wants, Claire said. He doesn't need your help. Daniel looked at her, then at Marcus, then back at her. His smile thinned. Right, he said slowly. Well, the offer's open if you change your mind. He turned to Claire. Can we talk? Privately? No. Claire, I told you I needed space. I meant it. You need to leave. Daniel's jaw tightened. Your mother's worried about you. I'm worried about you. You're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking fine. You're throwing away everything for? He gestured toward Marcus. For what? A small-town mechanic with a kid? Come on, Claire. You're better than this. Marcus stepped forward. His voice was calm, but his eyes were hard. I think you should go. Daniel held up his hands. Hey, man, I'm not trying to cause trouble. I'm just looking out for her. She doesn't need you to look out for her. And you do? That's her choice, not yours. The air crackled. Claire moved between them. Daniel, get in your car and leave, now. Daniel stared at her. You're making a mistake. Then it's my mistake to make. He stood there for a moment longer, his face tight with frustration. Then he turned and walked back to his car. He got in, slammed the door, and drove off too fast, gravel spitting under his tires. Claire let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Marcus touched her shoulder. You okay? Yeah. She turned to face him. I'm sorry. I didn't know he was coming. Not your fault. He had no right to talk to you like that. Marcus shrugged. I've heard worse. That doesn't make it okay. No, but it makes it familiar. He glanced at the road where Daniel's car had disappeared. Is he going to be a problem? No. I'll make sure of it. Marcus studied her. You're shaking. She looked down at her hands. He was right. Come inside, he said. Sit down for a minute. She followed him into the office. He pulled out a chair, and she sank into it. Her heart was racing. Marcus filled a paper cup with water from the cooler and handed it to her. Thank you, she said. He leaned against the desk. You want to talk about it? Not really. Okay. They sat in silence. Through the window, the sun was setting, painting the sky in stripes of orange and pink. He's going to tell my mother, Claire said finally. And? And she's going to call. She's going to say I'm making a mistake, that I'm ruining my life. Do you think you are? Claire looked at him. No. Then it doesn't matter what she says. It's not that simple. Why not? Because she's my mother. Because I've spent my whole life trying to make her proud. Because disappointing her feels like... She stopped. Her throat was tight. It feels like failing. Marcus crouched in front of her, his hands resting on the arms of her chair. You're not failing. You're choosing. There's a difference. What if I choose wrong? Then you choose again. His voice was steady, certain. But you don't let other people choose for you. That's not living. That's just surviving. Claire's eyes burned. I'm scared. I know. Me too. Of what? He smiled, small and sad. That this is going to end. That you're going to wake up one day and realize your life is easier without us in it. That's not going to happen. You don't know that. Yes, I do. She leaned forward, her hands covering his. Marcus, I'm not here because it's easy. I'm here because it's right. Because when I'm with you and Ava, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. He held her gaze. You mean that? I do. The office was quiet. Outside, a dog barked. A car drove past. Then Marcus stood and pulled her to her feet. Come on, he said. Let's get out of here. Where are we going? The river. I need to think, and thinking's easier by the water. They drove separately and met at the same spot by the cottonwoods. The river was dark now, reflecting the first stars. Marcus spread the blanket again. This time, he brought a thermos of coffee and 2 mugs. They sat side by side, shoulders touching, and watched the water move. I've been thinking, Marcus said after a while. About? About us. About what we're doing. Claire's heart squeezed. And I think we need to be honest about what this is. What do you mean? He turned to face her. This isn't just gratitude anymore, at least not for me. It's not for me either. Then what is it? Claire looked at him, at the careful walls he'd spent so long building, at the man who'd saved her life, and then walked away because staying felt more dangerous than leaving. I think I'm falling for you, she said quietly. The words hung in the air. Marcus didn't move, didn't speak. Claire's chest tightened. If that's too much. It's not too much, he said. His voice was rough. It's terrifying, but it's not too much. She let out a breath. Okay, I haven't... He stopped, started again. I haven't let anyone in since Ava's mom left. 5 years. I told myself it was safer that way, for both of us. What changed? You. He reached out and touched the bird charm at her neck. You showed up and stayed, even when I pushed you away, even when I said no. You just kept showing up. Is that a bad thing? No. He let the charm fall back against her sweater. It's the best thing that's happened to me in a long time. Claire's eyes burned. So what do we do? We keep going, slow, honest, one day at a time. I can do that. Marcus cupped her face in his hands. His palms were warm, rough with calluses. I'm going to kiss you now, he said, if that's okay. That's okay. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to change her mind. But she didn't. When his lips touched hers, it was careful and tender, and full of all the things neither of them had said yet. She kissed him back, her hands resting on his chest, feeling his heartbeat under her palms. When they pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. That was... he started. Yeah, she said. They sat there, wrapped in each other, listening to the river and the night birds and the quiet hum of the world around them. Then Marcus's phone buzzed. He pulled back, frowning, and checked the screen. His face changed. What is it? Claire asked. He showed her. A post on social media, a photo of the two of them at the fall fair, Ava between them, all three smiling. The caption read, "Local mechanic finds his happily ever after with mysterious newcomer. Riverside romance." The comments were already piling up. Good for him. She's pretty. Wonder what she sees in him. Bet she's got money. He's upgrading. Hope he knows what he's getting into. Marcus's jaw tightened. He turned off the phone and shoved it in his pocket. It's just talk, Claire said. It's never just talk. Not for people like me. Marcus, I need to think about Ava. He stood, folding the blanket with sharp, angry movements. About what this looks like for her. About what people are going to say. Does it matter what they say? Yes. He looked at her, his eyes hard. Because I've worked 10 years to build a life where people respect me. Where they bring me their cars and their problems and don't question whether I'm going to do right by them. And now, he gestured at the phone. Now they're going to question everything. Claire stood. Because of me. Because of us. So what are you saying? Marcus ran a hand over his face. I'm saying I need some space. To think. To figure out how to protect Ava from this. And me? He looked at her, and she saw it. The fear, the doubt, the walls going back up. I don't know, he said quietly. The words hit like a punch. Claire nodded slowly. Okay? Claire? No, I get it. You have to protect your daughter. I understand. Do you? Yes. Her voice was steady, even though her heart was breaking. Because I'd do the same thing if I were you. Marcus's expression cracked. I'm sorry. Don't be. Just figure out what you need, and let me know. She walked to her car and drove away, her hands gripping the wheels so tight her knuckles went white. When she got home, she sat in the driveway for a long time, staring at nothing. Then she went inside, took off the bird charm, and set it on the kitchen counter. Her phone rang. Her mother. She didn't answer. Daniel texted, "We need to talk." She blocked him. Then she turned off her phone, climbed into bed, and cried into her pillow until there was nothing left. The next morning, Claire woke to silence. She made coffee, stared out the window, tried to figure out what to do next. The answer came slowly, painfully. She couldn't force Marcus to trust her. She couldn't make him believe that she wasn't going to hurt him or Ava. She couldn't control what people said or thought. But she could give him space. And she could let go of the one thing she'd been holding on to for 10 years. She picked up the bird charm from the counter. It gleamed softly in the morning light. Then she found an envelope, slipped the charm inside, and wrote one sentence on a blank card. No strings, no debts, just gratitude. C. She drove to the shop before it opened and slid the envelope under the bay door. Then she went home and waited. She didn't hear from Marcus that day, or the next. On the third day, Nina called. Ava had a rough night, Nina said. Her asthma flared up, Nothing serious, but Marcus was up with her until 3 in the morning. He's exhausted. Is she okay now? Yeah, resting, but... Nina hesitated. He found your envelope. He's been carrying it around in his pocket like it's going to disappear if he puts it down. Claire's chest ached. I didn't want to pressure him. I know, and he knows. But he's scared, Claire. Scared of what people think. Scared of messing up. Scared of losing you. He's not going to lose me. Then tell him that. I tried. Try again. Nina hung up. Claire sat on the porch steps, hugging her knees. She thought about the fire, about the way Marcus had wrapped his jacket around her and told her to stay awake, about the way he'd pressed the charm into her palm and disappeared into the dark. He'd saved her once. Maybe it was time for her to save him, by showing him she wasn't going anywhere. She stood, grabbed her keys, and drove to the shop. Marcus was in the bay, his head under the hood of a truck. He didn't hear her come in. Marcus, she said. He straightened, grease on his hands, exhaustion written in every line of his face. Claire, I'm sorry, she said. I shouldn't have left the charm. I should have stayed and fought for this. For us. You don't have to. Yes, I do. She walked closer. Because I'm not giving up on you. I'm not walking away because things got hard. That's not who I am. People are talking. Let them. They're saying you're with me because you feel guilty. That I'm taking advantage. They're wrong. Claire? No. She stopped in front of him. Listen to me. I don't care what they say. I don't care what my mother says, or what Daniel says, or what anyone in this town says. I care about you, and Ava, and the life we could build together if you'd just let me in. Marcus stared at her. What if I mess this up? Then we fix it together. What if I'm not enough? You're everything. His face crumpled. He closed his eyes, his shoulders shaking. Claire wrapped her arms around him and held on. I'm scared, he whispered into her hair. I know, me too, but we don't have to be scared alone. He pulled back and looked at her, really looked at her, and she saw it, the moment the last wall came down. Okay, he said. Okay? Yeah, okay. He cupped her face in his hands, grease and all, and kissed her. This time, it wasn't careful. It was desperate and true, and full of all the fear and hope they'd been carrying. When they finally broke apart, breathless, Marcus rested his forehead against hers. I love you, he said. Claire's heart soared. I love you too. The bay door rolled open. Ava stood there, Nina behind her, both of them grinning. Finally, Ava said. Marcus laughed, deep and real and full of relief. Claire turned to Ava. You feeling better, kiddo? Yeah, Dad said you brought the bird back. I did, but I think it should stay with you now. Really? Really, if that's okay with your dad. Marcus pulled the envelope from his pocket and handed it to Ava. She opened it carefully, lifting out the charm. It's so shiny, she breathed. That's because we polished it together, remember? Ava nodded. She looked at her dad, then at Claire. Are you going to stay now? Claire glanced at Marcus. He smiled and took her hand. Yeah, Claire said. I'm staying. 6 months later, the shop office had changed. Ava's bird drawing still hung on the wall, but now there were others. A picture of the three of them at the river, a calendar with Claire's handwriting marking school events and shop appointments, a small potted plant on the windowsill that Claire watered every Tuesday. Marcus's desk held a framed photo. Claire and Ava at the fall fair, cotton candy in hand, both laughing. On a Saturday in March, Claire arrived with sandwiches. Ava ran to meet her, the bird charm swinging from a chain around her neck. Claire, guess what? My science project got picked for the showcase. That's amazing. When is it? Next Wednesday. You're coming, right? Wouldn't miss it. Marcus came out of the bay, wiping his hands. He kissed Claire's forehead, easy and familiar. How was your morning? He asked. Good. My mom called. He tensed. And? And she wants to come visit. Meet you and Ava. For real this time. Marcus blinked. She does? Yeah, I told her about us. About how happy I am, and she said... Claire's voice caught. She said she wants to understand. Marcus pulled her close. That's good, right? That's everything. They ate lunch. Together. Marcus, Claire, Ava, and Nina, who stopped by with cupcakes from the bakery. After, they walked to the river. The cottonwoods were budding green, the water high with snowmelt. Ava ran ahead, the bird charm glinting in the sun. Claire slipped her hand into Marcus's. You know what I realized? She said. What? That night, when you saved me, you didn't just pull me out of a fire. You gave me a reason to believe in something bigger than fear, bigger than appearances, bigger than what people think. Marcus stopped walking. He turned to face her, his hands warm on her waist. You did the same for me, he said. You showed up. You stayed. You fought for us when I was too scared to fight for myself. We fought for each other. Yeah, we did. Ava called from the riverbank. Dad, Claire, come see. They walked over, hand in hand. Ava pointed at the water. Look, a bird. A heron stood in the shallows, still and patient, waiting for the right moment. Claire smiled. Beautiful. Make a wish, Ava said. Why? Because the bird brought you to us, so maybe it can bring more good things. Marcus squeezed Claire's hand. She closed her eyes and made a wish. Not for money, not for perfection, not for a life without struggle, but for this, for ordinary days and quiet love, for sandwiches by the river and polished charms, and a man who'd saved her twice. Once from fire, once from fear. For a daughter who saw magic in silver birds and goodness in simple things. For a life built not on what they owed each other, but on what they chose to give. When she opened her eyes, the heron had taken flight. Did you wish? Ava asked. I did. Good, then it'll come true. Marcus laughed and scooped Ava up, spinning her around until she shrieked with joy. Claire watched them, her heart full to bursting. The bird was gone, but the promise remained. And for the first time in 10 years, Claire knew she was exactly where she belonged. Home.